with me Siamese. I'ma talk to these heathens however I please. You up against the one key, a new Jet Li. And put in mouth terms, y'all just too mean. Open up the Matthew 24:14. The gospel preached to the world, then comes the ENT. If the end hasn't come, but the other nations already free, the gospel must be with me. First touchdown, it was like, who is he? The work that he did sounded like I am he. Had a lot to bear on my sins, smelling grizzly. How I hit the button, he was always winning. Prophetic blood, it was always in me. The wisdom of this world, it was oh so
Captain Amawan Banloya, captain of the God of Zion. And I got next to me Shatar Tazalak, Officer Tazalak Banloya. And tonight we're going to be going over Ezekiel's prophecy, Ezekiel's chapter 38 and 39. Prophecy of the last battle, prophecy of the valley of Jehoshaphat, prophecy of the battle of Armageddon. So we're going to touch on some scriptures before we go right into the topic. Give me Colossians 3:17.
Come on. It's the book of Colossians, chapter 3, verse 17.
Read.
And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all in the name of Mashiach Yahushua, giving thanks to Yahweh and the Abba by him.
So everything we say, everything we do, we have to consider the Most High. In these last days, we need to understand prophecy. We need to know what's going on around us. Because the scriptures is a book of prophecy. The Most High tells us we need to covet prophecy. Because we need to be aware of what's going to be going on in these last days. A lot of times in Israel, we say we can't wait to get to see the chariots and go into the wilderness. There's more things that's gonna have to happen before we can even rest in the land of Israel. Before we can finally relax and enjoy the blessings of the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's a process. And when we go over this class, hopefully brothers obtain a little bit more patience and trust the process of the Most High. Because there's things that's going to have to surpass. Everything that's fulfilled, written in this book, have to be fulfilled. All prophecy have to be fulfilled. Even the prophecies of the last battle, Armageddon, that's written in the scriptures. So give me the book of Luke chapter 12, verse 56. Give me the book of Luke chapter 12, verse 56.
Try. It's the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 56.
Right.
Ye hypocrites.
Ye what?
Ye hypocrites.
Ye who?
Ye hypocrites.
Ye what?
Ye hypocrites.
Read.
Ye can't discern the face of the sky,
Right.
and of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But how is it that ye do not discern this time?
Because the Most High said our people, they caught up in zodiacs. They get caught up in constellations. They get caught up in Ouija boards and rolling dice and witches and obia. Right? But they don't understand the things written in the scriptures. Scriptures say that we would go into slavery and bondage in slave ships. That came to pass. Scriptures prophesy Yahweh was going to come between 400 years between Ezra and the book of Matthew. That came to pass. 70 AD was prophesied. That came to pass. We're waiting for our salvation, the chariots in the wilderness. Because when we leave here, we're going to be going into the wilderness, man. We're going to go under the covenant of the Most High. But we need to understand that the Most High revealed his secrets unto the prophets. The Most High won't do anything without revealing it unto us first. Give me Isaiah 42 and 9. Give me Isaiah 42 and 9. The God of Abraham, Isaac never deals with confusion. Even though right now we see the shots are going out, they finally got the cure for the shots. He would never leave us without any understanding of what, an instruction of what we need to do. He would always leave a prophet, a minister, a priest to give the nation guidance. That's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Read.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 42, verse 9.
Read.
Behold,
Right.
the former things are come to pass.
The Heavenly Father said the former things have come to pass. We've seen through slavery already. We've seen Mashiach coming back the first time in our previous lives. Right. We've seen these things come to happen, but what? Read.
And new things.
But what?
And new things.
But prophecies of us going into the chariots have not been fulfilled. Us seeing the angels come down and judge America with fire and brimstone, that hasn't happened yet. Us going into the wilderness under the new covenant, that hasn't happened yet. There's things that needs to be fulfilled. Read.
And new things do I declare.
And he said that there's new things he's declaring unto us. And tonight we're going to declare something new unto you. There's things that's going to happen that we need to brace ourselves in Israel. We need to prepare our mind for this process. Because the Most High will test our patience. There's things that's going to make us want to take one foot forward and 3 steps back in his word. Because there's going to be a process. The Most High is going to be bringing us into the land of Israel in a whole process. It's going to take time. We think that we're going to be in the land of Israel after 1 year captivity. After just measly 400 years. We've been disobeying the Heavenly Father since 1450 BC. That's how long we've been disobeying the Heavenly Father. Give me Deuteronomy 29:29. But there's hope. Because he said he revealed his secrets unto his prophets. Not only does he reveal his secrets to his prophets, they belong to us. The mysteries of the Most High belong to us and our children. The prophecies belong unto us. Read.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 29, verse 29.
Read.
The secret things belong unto the Most High, our power.
The dark sayings in the scriptures, Yahweh's parables, these things belong unto us. It belongs unto our children. Read.
But those things which are revealed belong unto us,
right,
and to our children forever.
The things that are revealed, these things that's being revealed through the scriptures, because a lot of the masses, they go to the Christian church, they go to the Catholic church, but this book is sealed in their eyes. But to us that's in this word, keeping the commandments, the Most High just pouring out information like the World Wide Net. He just pouring it out like Internet Explorer. Because why are we coming back and keeping the commandments of the Most High?
That's right. In
these last days, he said wisdom is going to increase. There's going to be new things we're going to keep seeing in the scriptures. The Most High is going to continue revealing unto us. Give me 1 Corinthians 14:39. Give me 1 Corinthians 14:39. Because he said we're supposed to covet prophecy. We're supposed to be happy when prophecy is being laid out before our eyes. When it's being revealed unto us. Because that gives us time to prepare. We can't say, Most High, why didn't you tell us? We can't act like it was a big surprise. Like the Most High just spring that out of the closet. No, everything that's from creation all the way into the kingdom, it's already been written out in the scriptures. It's been planned out. It's up to us as the children of Israel if we're going to heed this instruction. Read.
It's the book of 1 Corinthians, chapter 14, verse 39.
Read.
Wherefore, brethren, covet to prophecy.
What did the Most High say?
Covet to prophecy.
He said covet to prophecy, desire prophecy, understand prophecy. Read.
And forbid not to speak with tongues.
Right.
Let all things be done.
That's it. The Most High said to covet prophecy. Give me Matthew 24:13 before we get right into it.
24:14.
Matthew 24:13, because we're going to go through a serious amount of scriptures. So if you don't have your pen and paper, I highly suggest you get your pen and paper. I highly suggest you get your highlighter, and I highly suggest you get your camcorder to record the TV. Because we're going to go through the scripture, and we're going to dive in deep, from scripture to scripture, line upon line, precept upon precept. Give me that Matthew 24:13.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 13.
Read.
But he that shall endure unto the end,
right,
the same shall be saved.
The Most High said through the spirit of Hamashiach Yahushai, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. Why would he say something like that unless there's going to be a series of events that's going to happen? There's going to be a series of events that's going to happen. When we go into this prophecy in Ezekiel 38:39, we're going to understand from Ezekiel 37 and onward, everything is in sequence. It's in chronological order. 37, the Most High bringing us back, restoring our hearts, giving us a fleshly heart instead of a stony heart. Ezekiel 38:39, Armageddon. 40 and on, the temple is back, the priesthood is back. The Most High is telling you, giving the instruction of the sacrifices. The land is being divided again, just like in the times of old. Everything's happening in chronological order. So we're going to go to Ezekiel chapter 38. Start from verse 1. Take your time and read everything clearly.
Okay. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 1.
Right.
And the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Son of man,
right,
set thy face against Gog.
Set my face against who?
Against Gog.
The Most High said through the spirit of Ezekiel, set thy face against Gog. Read.
The land of Magog.
The what?
The land of Magog.
He said the land of Magog, not the people. Read.
The chief prince of Meshach.
Right, not the people, the chief prince that's in the land. Read.
And Tubal, and prophecy against him.
And prophesy against him. At this time right here in Ezekiel, we already went through the wilderness. America has been destroyed already. We're under the new covenant by this time period. That already came to pass. America, Babylon the Great, is no longer a superpower upon the face of the earth anymore. That passed already. Now he says, read it again from verse 2.
Come. Son of man, set thy face against Gog.
Right.
The land of Magog.
Right.
The chief prince of Meshach.
Mm-hmm.
and Tubal and prophesy against him.
Because we're going to understand, he's not talking about the actual ethnic people, Gog, Magog, and Tubal. He's talking about the inhabitants of the people that's living in their land currently. Not the people, but the nation of people that's whoever's inhabiting their land right now. Because when America is destroyed, it's going to be Russia that's the next higher power. This Gog and Magog is Russia. Meshach is the ancient name of Moscow. Can you pull that up for me, Bible Show? Let's read that. Meshach is the ancient name of Moscow. The Most High is talking about the inhabitants of Russia. Read that again. The chief prince of who?
Come. The chief prince of Meshach.
The chief prince of Meshach. Rather, it's Putin. Hopefully, it's Putin that do it. Or rather, it be another Edomite that's going to be ruling Moscow. That's who the Most High is prophesying against right now. Because by this time, America's destroyed. Give me Jeremiah 15:14. Let's go touch two scriptures before we go into this Moscow. Jeremiah 15:14.
Okay.
We're gonna go into this. What happened in America? After America's destroyed, Russia's gonna be back in power. His allies are gonna come gather themselves together. They're gonna try to be the next superpower upon the face of the earth. But we know, according to prophecy, Israel got next.
That's right.
Read that.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 15, verse 14.
No, 15 and 14.
Oh, it's like 15 and 14.
Jeremiah 15 and 14.
50. Okay. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 50, verse 14.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself in array against Babylon.
The Most High say, put yourself in array against Babylon. He's talking about the countries that's going to come against America. Read.
Around about.
Right?
All ye that bent the bow.
All ye that what?
All ye that bent the bow.
He said, all ye that bent the bow. This is the horde that was taken off the back of the beast. When you read Revelation 18, this is the mystery of Babylon that's going to be destroyed. That a fire is going to be like a rolling scroll in the sky. The bow is the nuclear weapons. When you observe a missile, what does it look like? It looks like an arrow.
That's right.
It shoots up like an arrow, comes down, and blows up. It's a bow. Read.
Shoot at her.
Right?
Spare no arrows.
Spare no what?
Spare no
The
arrows.
Most High is instructing the nations during this time, don't spare Babylon. Don't spare America. Shoot all your ICBM missiles at America. Mm-hmm. Read.
For she hath sinned against the Most High.
Because she took in the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans into hardcore bondage. Destroyed us as a nation of people. Have perverted all the nations upon the face of the earth. And lied to the masses. Read.
Shout against her round about.
He's telling the nations, shout against her. Every nation is going to turn their back on America in these last days. America's going to be betrayed by its allies. Give me Isaiah 34:8. So what happens after the missiles hit? What's going to be the future of America? Before we go back into this Gog and Magog. Because Gog and Magog, Ezekiel 38 is after America's destroyed. 2/3 already destroyed in America. The white man's finished in America. They seen the Israelites going to chariots. We in the wilderness already. So what happened to America? Read that for me. Isaiah 34:8.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 34, verse 8.
Read.
For it is the day of the Most High vengeance.
Read.
And the year of recompense.
The day of his vengeance is the second coming of Mashiach Yahusha, who the world ignorantly called Jesus Christ. Read.
For the controversy of Zion.
Right.
And the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch.
What did he say about America?
And the stream thereof shall be turned into pitch.
He said their streams, their rivers, their waterfalls is going to become like pitch. If anybody knows about roofing, the black thing that they burn like mortar, like mortar. I'm sorry? The tar. That's what will be America's rivers. That's what will become America's waterfalls. It's going to be burnt up like tar. Read.
And the dust thereof
right?
into brimstone.
The dust is going to turn into brimstone. Read.
And the land thereof.
And the land thereof should be what?
Shall become burning pitch.
It's going to become like an everlasting fire, like the scriptures say. America's going to become the lake of fire. That's going to be the future of America. Now let's go back to Ezekiel 38:1. Read that again. Now we're moving up the time period.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 1.
Read.
And the word of the Most High came unto me, saying, Son of man,
right?
set thy face against God,
right?
the land of Magog,
right?
The chief prince of Meshach,
the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach. Whoever is ruling in this land, which is Moscow, that's who the Most High is prophesizing against. This superpower, this leader. So let's read this about Moscow. Moreover, according to a legend, first appearing in Kievan Synopsis, 1674, Moskva, that's how the Russians pronounce the name, Moskva, was founded by King Mosca, son of Japheth. So we know the ancient children of Meshach was the children of Japheth. These are the ethnic people. So Moscow gets its name from a descendant of Meshach. Let's continue reading. It was named for him and his wife. The name Moscow derives from Mosca. The same way it's King Moscow name is pronounced, it's the same way Moscow is pronounced in the Russian language. Moscow comes from this Japhetic king. Read. Osalakia. In this legend, they are also said to have a son, but that's it. So this name Moscow derives from this Japhetic king. Meshach is the inhabitant, is the ancient inhabitants of Japheth. Now who lives there? So-called Caucasian. Putin and his friends, and his family. They stay in this land. Right now the Most High is prophesizing against Russia because they think they're going to be the next superpower. But the Most High has other plans. Let's continue reading.
Son of man, set thy face against God,
right?
The land of Magog.
The land of who?
The land of Magog.
The land of Magog, read.
The chief prince of Meshach.
The chief prince of Meshach, read.
And the two bow and prophesy against him,
right?
And say, thus said the Most High Power, behold, I am against thee.
What did the Most High say?
I am against thee,
right?
O God.
O who?
O God.
Right?
The chief prince of Meshach.
The Most High is prophesizing in this time period that he's going to be against Russia. He's going to be against Moscow. Read.
The chief prince of Meshach and Tubal.
Right.
And I will turn thee back.
What did he say?
I will turn thee back.
The Most High said he's going to turn them back. Because at this time, the nations know about the chariots. They know about Yahweh Shai is black. They know that we the Israelites, we the chosen people, they understand America's destroyed. They see and witnessed this already. They understand that this Bible wasn't a fairy tale. That when all this time they were telling us, go get a job, we knew something. We knew something. We had a little breakdown or two. But the Most High said he's gonna turn them back. Read.
And put hooks into thy jars.
He's gonna do what?
Put hooks into thy jars.
He's saying a metaphor right now. He's gonna put a hook in their jaw and bring them back. Read.
And I will bring thee forth and all thine army, horses and horsemen.
He's gonna bring them back in power again. You know, anybody who did the research about the Soviet Union, they're gonna come back to being a power. They're gonna grab their allies again. They're gonna make alliances again. Exactly. Yeah, it's happening right now. Just hopefully Putin is the king of Meshach. They're getting their strength right back in this time. Because America's finished. They don't have any competition. Now it's their time to try to rise up to come to power. Read.
All of them,
right,
clothed with all sorts of armor,
right,
even a great company with bucklers,
right,
and shields,
right,
all of them handling swords.
So the Most High says he's going to gather their military might. So get me Iran up there too, because that's about to come up. Read.
Persia.
And who?
Persia.
And what?
Persia.
Most High said, and Persia. Moscow's number 2 man is going to be Persia. So let's find out who Persia is today. Let's find out who they're still allies today. They're still best friends today. On Nowruz of 1935, Reza Shah asked foreign delegates to use the Persian term Iran, meaning land of Irans and Persia. The idiom of the country in formal correspondence, subsequently the common adjective for citizens of Iran, changed from Persian to Iran. So who's the Most High? So who's the Most High referring to right now? He's speaking to the Iranians. Because a lot of times, people in America, they think Iran is going to be blown up with thermonuclear fire by America. When America's destroyed and there's no more one nation under God, Iran is still going to be here. Persia is still going to be around. Let's continue reading.
Ethiopia,
read.
And Libya,
read.
With them,
right?
all of them with shield and helmet.
So all these nations are going to come together and make alliances and come together. They're going to come together. But is it going to be by the will of man? Is it just the king of Mashkal decides to come get these nations together? Give me Joel 3 and 2. Let's go back to the prophets. Joel 3 and 2. Because the Most High said he will gather these nations together. He said he will bring a multitude of nations into the valley of Jehoshaphat. He's going to force the nations to come. That's what prophecy say. Joel 3 and 2. Once you get that. Joel 3 and 2.
It's the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 2.
Read.
I will also gather all nations.
What did he say?
I will also gather all nations.
The Most High said he would gather all the nations. These are the residue of nations that's left after America was destroyed. This is when they start gathering their alliances together. Now, that's the Most High that's going to do that. But we're going to find out the greater purpose of why. Read.
And we'll bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
He's going to bring them where?
Bring all of them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat.
The valley of Jehoshaphat is right outside of Israel. It's right there in the Middle East. We see all the nations are gathering together right there, right now. The Most High is setting down all the cards on the table. He said he will dry up the valley of the great river Euphrates so the nations could pass by. That's happening right now. Mm-hmm. Read.
And we'll plead with them.
And he's going to do what?
We'll plead with them.
The Most High said he's going to plead with them. Read.
They're for my people.
For my what?
For my people.
Well, we're going to understand what the word plead means later on. Read.
And for my heritage,
right.
Israel, whom they have scattered amongst the nations.
Give me Joel 3 and 10 now.
Verse 10. Beat your plowshare into swords.
What did the Most High say?
Beat your plowshares into swords.
Because we would all think that after seeing chariots go thousands of miles fast in the sky, seeing America, the greatest bully upon the face of the earth, be thrown down by black people in UFOs, you would think the nations will want to, okay, let's back down now. They finally took the kingdom. They keep the jigs up. Let's go be servants. No. The Heavenly Father is not satisfied. He tells them to beat their plowshares into swords. Plowshares are something you use when you do agriculture. He's telling them, it's time for you to arm yourselves again. He's not done with you. It's time for you to go get your guns now. It's time for you to go get your tanks. Go get your fighter jets. Go get your military, your wise men in war. Read.
Beat your plowshares into swords,
right?
And your pruning hooks into spears.
Read.
Let the weak says, I am strong.
Let the weak nations say I'm strong. Ethiopia, nobody talks about Ethiopia. The ancient Babylonians were Ethiopia, the ethnic people of Ethiopia. Nobody talks too much about Libya too much. It's about China, America, North Korea. Nobody talk about these little countries no more. The Most High said these nations that are weak, they're going to say I'm strong. Read.
Assemble yourselves.
What did he say?
Assemble yourselves.
Just like in Ezekiel 38, they're assembling themselves. Read.
And come.
Right?
All you heathen.
All you what?
All you heathen.
Read. And
gather yourselves together round about.
Right.
Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Yahweh.
Right.
Let the heathen be wakening.
Right.
And come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat.
The Most High is bringing them to Israel. At this time period, we're already in the land of Israel. So why is he going to bring them over there? There's going to be a greater purpose. We're going to continue reading.
For there will I sit to judge.
What did he do?
For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about.
He said he's going to sit there and judge the nations. The purpose of the Most High gathering the king of Meshech, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, the modern people that's living in these ancient lands, is to plead with them, to judge these nations. Read.
Put ye in the sickle,
right?
For the harvest is ripe.
He said, now the harvest is right. Now is the time.
Right.
Read.
Like, for the harvest is right. Come, get you down.
Right.
For the press is full. The fast overflow. For the wickedness is great.
Right.
Multitude.
What did he say?
Multitudes.
Multitudes. Read.
Multitude.
What did he say?
In the valley of decision.
In the valley of decisions. Read.
For the day of the Most High is near in the valley of decision.
He said that time is going to come. The nations are scattered all abroad. The Most High needed them in one spot. He needed their strength in one spot and then sweep them away with his judgment. The Most High is going to gather them over there. Go back to you at Ezekiel 38.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 6.
Right.
Gomer and all his bands.
You say who?
Gomer and all his bands,
Gomer and all his bands, the modern people that's living in Gomer, read.
the house of Togarmah,
Right?
of the north quarters,
Of the where?
of the north quarters,
Read that. What verse are you at?
verse 6.
Read that again.
Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah, of the north quarters,
Right?
and all his bands, and many people with thee.
And many people with thee, read.
Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. After many days.
After what?
After many days.
He said after they're done assembling themselves, after they're done making their alliances, it's going to come to their mind to come to Israel. The Most High is going to put that spirit in them to come over there. Come and invade these Israelites. Come and get these Negroes. It's going to come in their spirit. So continue reading.
Thou shalt be visited.
Read.
In the latter years.
Right.
Thou shalt come into the land.
So we know the Most High said in the latter years. So we know there's going to be a dispensation of time that's going to happen after we get into the land of Israel. There's going to be some events that's going to be taking place. Read.
Thou shalt come into the land that is brought.
The land of what?
The land that is brought back from the sword.
He said that they're going to come into the land that was brought back from the sword. Read.
And is gathered out of many people.
That is gathered out of many people. We're going to find out what the Most High is telling us right here. Read.
Against the mountains.
Right.
Of Israel.
Against the who?
The mountains of Israel.
So we're going to find out the people that were slaves for over 600 years that just received freedom. Now there's going to be the world's superpowers going to come and get them now. World superpowers are going to come in and try to invade them now. Okay. Give me Hosea 6:1. Because during this time, we're under the new covenant. We're not sinning no more. We're not breaking the commandments no more. It's prophesied that the Most High will forgive us for our iniquities. The only time we go into captivity is why? It's when we sin. It's when we break the commandments of the Most High. At this time, we're perfect in His eyes. Read.
It's the book of Hosea, chapter 6, verse 1.
Read.
Come, and let us return unto the Most High.
Right.
For He hath torn, and He will heal us.
Right.
He hath smitten, and He will bind us up.
Because in this time, the Most High is binding us up. He's healing us. Because of all our iniquities our forefathers faced, we had to be put in slavery. We had to put on all these conditions. Now we're healed by the Most High. Give me Ezekiel 16:61. Now we're healed by the Most High. We're under the new covenant of the Most High. We don't know sin anymore. Our children don't know sin anymore. The thought of a so-called Negro putting his pants below his behind is a foreign thing in the mind of the so-called black man during this time. The so-called Hispanic and Native Americans. It's going to be crazy to hear that we used to wear our pants below our behinds during this time. Read that.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 16, verse 61.
Go on.
Then thou shalt remember thy ways,
right,
and be ashamed when thou shalt receive thy sisters,
right,
thy elder and thy younger.
Let's talk about the land of Judah and the land of Israel, the 10 tribes and the 3 tribes. Read.
And I will give them unto thee for daughters, but not by thy covenant. And I will establish my covenant with thee.
What would the Most High do?
I will establish my covenant with thee.
During this time, He already established the covenant with us. Read.
And thou shalt know that I am the Most High.
Right.
That thou mayest remember and confound it, and never open thy mouth anymore because of thy shame.
The Most High not gonna bring to remembrance our past transgressions. He's not gonna remember our sins anymore. He's gonna forgive us for all our iniquity. Read.
When I am pacified towards thee for all that thou hast done.
When the Most High is finally appeased for all of our wickedness, that's when they're gonna come in. But in according to scriptures, that's the wrong time to come in and attack the land of Israel. Give me Judith 5:20. Then we're gonna go back to Ezekiel. Judith 5:20. That's the wrong time. Anytime the nation knew he was in sin, they knew that was the perfect time. During this period that's going to happen, they chose the wrong time to come into the land of Israel. Judith 5:20. That's in the Apocrypha.
This is the book of Judith, chapter 5, verse 21. But if there be no iniquity in their nation,
Now, if there's no iniquity in us, we're under the new covenant. We can't sin. It's impossible for us to break the commandments now. Read.
let my Lord now pass by,
Right?
lest their Lord defend them.
Lest who?
Lest their Lord defend
The only
them.
reason why the Most High is not defending us, or hasn't been defending us, because we keep sinning. We keep breaking His commandments. That's why He don't feel the urgency to fight for us. Now, when we're not breaking the commandments of the Most High will do horrific things against the nations to let them know that they need to stay in their place. Read.
Okay. And their God before them.
And then their God be what?
Before them.
Read.
And we become a reproach before all the world.
Until the nation that come and attack us while we're keeping the commandments of the Most High becomes a reproach against the whole world. Go back to read that in Ezekiel.
16.
38 and 8.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 8. After many days thou shalt be visited, and the latter years thou shalt come into the land that is brought back from the sword, and is gathered out of many people,
Right.
against the mountain of Israel,
Against the government of Israel. Read.
which have been always waste, but it is dwell safely of Salaga. And this shall be dwell safely all of them.
Now they're going to be back in the land in safety. Now they're all gathered together from all the places that were scattered. Read.
Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm.
What did he say?
Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm.
He said that the nations are going to come in and ascend like a storm. Read.
Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land.
He said thou should be a what?
Like a cloud to cover the land.
So let's get Ezekiel 59 and 19. He said that these Isaiah 59 and 19. He said that they're going to come in like a storm. When the scriptures talk about storms and rain, it could be used as a metaphor for military might, a numerous amount of military strength. That's how the nations are going to come in. It's going to look like a hurricane, category 5, coming through. Let's read it.
It's the book of Isaiah, chapter 59, verse 19.
Read.
So shall they fear the name of the Most High from the west,
Right.
and his glory from the rising of the sun.
Right.
When the enemy
When
shall,
the who?
When the enemy
When the enemy, read.
shall come in like a flood.
When the enemy should come like a flood. Give me Revelation 17:15 before we go back. The Most High said the enemy is like coming like a flood. They're going to come in like a flood. It's going to be an all one scale attack.
17 and 15.
Go.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 17, verse 15.
Read.
And he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest,
The waters that we're seeing, the storm, the cloud that we're seeing that's going to come in Israel. Read.
what the horse sitteth,
Right.
are peoples.
It's what?
Are peoples.
It's people. Read.
And multitude.
And what?
And multitude.
Multitude. Read.
And nations.
Of nations.
And tongues.
In tongues.
And the 10 horns.
That's it. Go back to read that in Ezekiel. So we see this cloud is going to be a multitude of people. These nations are going to come. But we're going to get to the good part. Are they going to prevail against the Israelites during this time? Are we going to go to captivity forever? Let's find out.
This
Let's
is the
read.
book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 9. Thou shalt ascend and come like a storm. Thou shalt be like a cloud to cover the land.
Right.
Thou and all thy bands.
Right.
And many people with thee. Thus said the Most High Power.
Right.
It shall also come to pass.
Because remember who's ruling, who's leading this. Russia is leading this. Iran is Russia's second-hand man in this attack. Read.
That at the same time shall things come into thy mind.
Right.
And thou shalt think an evil thought.
A what?
An evil thought.
A who?
An evil thought.
The evil thought that Russia's going to think is putting us back in captivity. Zechariah 14 and 1 to verse 2. The nations understand. Egypt was only great because who was there? We was there.
That's right.
The nation of Babylon came great because who was there?
Israel.
We was there. Daniel was helping them. Persia, Media, during the time of Esther, it became secured because of our people. America became as great as it is because of who? Our people. You don't think of evil thought. Let's put them back in slavery. Let's spoil them. Let's take everything they got. Let's make sure they never know who they are. That's the evil thought they're going to think. Read.
This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 13, verse 1. And that day there shall be a fountain open to the house of David.
Zechariah 14:1.
Oh, Slack, I'm in 13, Slack. It's the book of Zechariah, chapter 14, verse 1.
Read.
Behold, the day of the Most High cometh,
Mm-hmm.
and thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee.
Right.
For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem.
Now, this is talking about doing 70 AD. This is the same nation of people. The king of Meshach is the Edomite. The Edomites are the ones who took us out of Israel. Read.
For I will gather all the nation against Jerusalem to
Right.
battle.
Right.
And the city shall be taken.
And the what?
And the city shall be taken.
They're thinking about taking the land of Israel from us. Read.
And the houses rifled.
Taking our homes from us. Read.
And the woman ravished.
Raping our women, raping our daughters, raping our sons. Read.
And the half of the city shall go forth into captivity.
They're going to put us in slavery. That's the evil thought that the king of Meshach and these nations are thinking about. How can we prosper again? How can we make us great again? That's the evil thought they're going to think. Go back to you, Zach.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 11. And thou shalt say, I will go up to the land and unwalled villages. I will go to them that are at rest.
I'm going to go to them who don't even have a defense. When the scripture says it's an unwalled city, there's no defense. Because we're just coming back. When we was in the wilderness, we was on survival mode. Now we're coming back, we're trying to rest. We're trying to get ourselves established. Now they feel that's the time to attack. Why not wait when Yahushua is with us on the throne? Read.
That dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls, and having neither bars nor gates, to take a spoil, and to take a prey.
To do what?
To take a prey.
Take a prey, read.
To turn thy hands upon the desolate places that are now inhabited, and upon the people that are gathered out of the nations, which have gotten cattle and goods, that dwell in the midst of the land. Sheba and Dedan.
Sheba and Dedan. These are the Ishmaelites. Read.
And the merchant of Tarshish.
The merchants of Tarshish, read.
With all the young lions thereof,
right,
shall say unto thee.
What is the Ishmaelites are going to say? What is these nations are going to say to Meshach, Persia, and other nations? Read.
Or thou come to take a spoil.
What did they say?
Or thou come to take a spoil.
And they're going to say it in modern terms. You're going to come and attack these people? You didn't see their chariots? You didn't see their God is with them? You didn't see what they did to America? You're going to come against them? That's what the nations are going to say. Because Ishmael in Hebrew is Yashima I Allah. That means I have heard of God. Ishmael knows that we're the children of Israel. They know about the God of Abraham.
Yep.
They know. When this thing happened in America, Ishmael is going to be well aware of what's happening. They're going to tell them, you're going to go against them. You see, when the Most High wrote it in the scripture, they're not even going to try to join.
Right.
They already know they're going to captivity. They know they finished. Read.
Hast thou gathered thy company to take a prey?
You got your military, you made alliances to come and take these people into slavery? Read.
To carry away silver and gold.
To do what?
To carry away silver and gold.
To carry away silver and gold, because all nations are going to know that Yahushua was around. They're going to know because Yahushua is still in the chariots. Angels are still around. Yahushua got prophecies he got to go fulfill. Give me Revelation 1:7. Other nations don't. Yahushua said all eyes are going to see. All eyes are going to see that the angels of the Most High, they're going to know we the children of Israel during this time. It's not going to be my mistake or my bad deeds. It's not going to be no my bad. Revelation 1:7.
It's the book of Revelation, chapter 1, verse 7. Behold, he cometh with clouds.
He cometh with clouds. The clouds is what the world so ignorantly call UFOs. The IFOs, identified flying objects. The salvation of Israel. Read.
And every eye shall.
And what?
And every eye.
Meshach, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, all his alliances, they're going to know Yahushua came. They're going to know he's with us. Read.
And every eye shall see him.
Every eye upon the face of the earth through social media, websites, email, letters, pictures. They're going to know that he came on the scene. That he's on the scene. Give me Matthew 24:27.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 27. For as the lightning coming out of the east,
right,
and shining even unto the west.
He's comparing that his coming as lightning from the east to the west. That means the whole face of the whole planet. Read.
So shall also the coming of the Son of Man be.
He said everybody's going to know from the eastern hemisphere to the western hemisphere. When Ishmael blow up something all the way in Antarctica, everybody on the planet know Ishmael did that.
God.
When Yahushua come and they see it's not sweet Jesus, it's not Ashton Kutcher or Donald Trump's son coming out of the chariots. That's going to go global upon the face of the earth. Go back to where we was at.
God. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 13. Sheba and Dedan and the merchant of Tarshish with all the young lions thereof shall say unto thee, art thou comest to take a spoil, as thou gather thy company to take a prey, to carry away silver and gold, to take away cattle and goods, to take a great spoil. Verse 14. Therefore, son of man, prophesy and say unto God,
what is he going to say?
Thus said the Most High Power,
right,
and that day when my people of Israel dwell safely,
right,
shall thou not know it?
What did the Most High say?
Shall thou not know it?
He said, you should have known that they're my people. You should have known that they're in my good graces now. You should have known that they're in the covenant. You should have known if you come against them, I'm going to be against you. Read.
Verse 15. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts.
They're out of the where?
Out of the north parts.
Now let's further substantiate this is Russia. Go give me a map. We're going to find out the superpower that's north from Israel. We're going to find out. We're going to see it's Russia that the scripture is referring to. Give me a map.
Bring that up.
When we look, Israel's right here. Right? Let me see. Slovakia. It's right here. The superpower, Meshach and Moscow, we just went over who's Meshach. It's Russia. That's the northern superpower that's going to come in. Let's go back.
Come.
He said that was going to come from the north part. Talking about Russia.
Verse 15. And thou shalt come from thy place out of the north parts,
right?
Thou and many people with thee,
right?
All of them riding upon horses,
right?
A great company,
a great military. The horses could mean tanks, ATVs, helicopters, could be many things, modern day terms, read.
And a mighty army,
right?
And thou shalt come upon against my people of Israel,
right? As
a cloud to cover the land,
right?
It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land.
The Most High said, I will bring you to the land. I'm the one that's orchestrating this. Read.
That the heathen may know me.
That the what?
That the heathen may know me.
Because the heathen don't know the Most High. The heathen hearing the name of the Most High, thou make an Edomite go into the third heavens. Now when you tell them, thus say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, they laugh. That's not my Jesus. Give me Exodus 15:3. They forgot who the God of Abraham, Isaac is. The world don't recognize the Most High no more. The world don't respect the Most High no more. The world don't respect the Most High. That's right. If the so-called white man respected the Most High, why would he ever say things like the Most High is a woman? Make a homosexual Bible. In the ancient world, they probably want to left that white. If a white man brought that up in this room, everybody want to never step foot in this room again. Right. Because they think the Most High is going to burn this room up. That's the type of respect the Most High had in ancient times.
That's crazy.
Give me Exodus 15:3.
It's the book of Exodus, chapter 15, verse 3.
Read.
The Most High is a man of war.
The Most High is a man of war. The Most High is the greatest gangster upon the face of the earth. Right. He's the same power that killed billions and trillions of people and left 8. That's the power they forgot. He said for them to know him, for him to be sanctified in front of him. Give me Leviticus 10:3. Let's find out what the sanctified means. Let's find out what this means when the Most High said he wants to be sanctified. 10:3. Leviticus 10:3.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 10, verse 3.
Come.
Then Moses said unto Aaron,
right?
This is it that the Most High spake.
This is when Aaron's sons burnt the strange frankincense before the Most High. And the Most High sent the chariot to burn them up in the tabernacle. Read.
Saying, I will be sanctified.
What did he say?
I will be sanctified.
What did he say?
I will be sanctified.
And so-called Negroes, we say it all the time. We just don't know what we're saying. When somebody disrespects you, how do we respond to that? Exactly. You better respect me. You know who I am? That's what the Most High is saying. He wants to have this respect. He wants to be sanctified again. Put some respect on my name. That's what the Most High is saying. Read.
I will be sanctified.
He said, I will be respected. Read.
And them that come nigh me.
And by them that come nigh me, the nations don't respect the Most High. Israel don't respect the Most High right now. That's why we smoke. We do drugs. That's why we don't be vagabonds upon the face of the earth. We don't respect the Most High. Let's go back to where we was at. Let's give me Romans 9:17 before we go back. Give me Romans 9:17. Because he said he wanted them to know him. He's not talking about Genesis chapter 4, no. When a man knows his woman. This is a different no. Romans 9:17.
This is the book of Romans, chapter 9, verse 17.
Read.
For the scripture say unto Pharaoh,
right?
Even for this the same purpose have I raised thee up.
Because the Most High is going to raise up the king of Meshach for what? Read.
That I might shew my power.
That he might do what?
I might show my power in thee.
Because he's not done yet. After America is destroyed, the Most High is not done yet. When we go into the covenant, the Most High is not done yet. It's not enough. Read.
And that my name might be declared throughout all the earth.
Because it's about his name, his reputation. Everybody's going to know the nature of the Most High. Everybody's going to know who the Most High is dealing with. And he's going to do it for his name's sake, his reputation. Read.
That's it.
That's it?
Okay.
Go back to you was at Ezekiel.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 16.
Read.
And thou shalt come against my people of Israel,
right,
as a cloud to cover the land. It shall be in the latter days, and I will bring thee against my land, that the heathen may know me.
Right.
When I shall be sanctified in thee, O God, before their eyes.
He said that he's going to bring them down before all the nations. Because America right now, the nations believe it's number one. Right in America, everybody's scared of Russia. The Most High is going to make sure that the nations know there's no hope. Nobody got next but Israel. Read.
Verse 17. Thus said the Most High power, or die he of whom I have spoken in old times,
right,
by my servant the prophets of Israel, which prophesied in those days many years that I will bring thee against them.
Right.
And it shall come to pass at the same time when God shall come against the land of Israel, said the Most High power,
right,
that my fury shall come up in my face.
The Most High said his fury is going to be set. Because Israel's at peace with him now. Now when it's time for the Sabbath, everybody's running to go to the Sabbath service now. Everybody's running to go keep the Passover. When somebody disrespects one another, it's a big thing in the nation of Israel now. Nobody's turning away the blind cheek. Now that we're doing what the Most High want, now he's angry that the nations are coming against us. Give me Zechariah 2:8. Because when the nations come against us, it's like they're touching the Most High. That's how he looks at it. He said it's like them touching the apple of his eye. When you look at a shiny apple, you see your reflection. When Israel's keeping the commandment, the Most High see himself in Israel. Give me Zechariah 2:8.
This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 2, verse 8. For thus said the Most High of hosts, after the glory have he sent me unto the nation which spoiled you.
Right.
For he that toucheth
the Most High said, he that toucheth you, read,
touches the apple of his eye.
It's like you touching the Most High himself on the throne. It's like you disrespecting the Most High himself on the throne. Give me Deuteronomy 11:10.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 10. For the land whether thou goest and to possess it, it is not as the land of Egypt. For whence ye came out, where thou sowest thy seed, and waterest it with thy foot, as a garden of herbs, But the land whether ye go to possess it, it is a land of hills.
That's 11:11.
Okay.
11 and 12. It's like
11 and 12. Okay. This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 11, verse 12.
Read.
A land which the Most High thy power carried forth the eyes of the Most High thy power are always upon it.
The Most High said his eyes is always upon the land of Israel. Even though we're not there, the Most High keep that land under surveillance 24/7 throughout the year. This is a land that the Most High care for that they're coming against. Go back to where you was at.
This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 38 verse 19. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken.
Right.
Surely in that day there shall be a great shaking in the land of Israel.
He said there's going to be a great shaking in the land of Israel. Read it.
So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all the creeping things that creep upon the earth
Right.
and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence.
Because how he's going to do this through the hands of Mashiach Yahushua. Give me Isaiah 59:20.
This is the book of Isaiah chapter 59 verse 20.
Read.
And the Redeemer shall come to
The
Zion.
Redeemer is a Mashiach Yahushua. This is the one that's going to come and be the defense for Israel. Read.
And unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob.
And those that turn from transgression in Jacob, that's us. That's going to be the Israelites who's under the new covenant. Read.
Said the Most High.
Say it the Most High. Give me Zechariah 14:3. Because scriptures say he's going to be the one that defends us. Hamashiach Yahushua is going to come and defend us. When these nations come in, we're not going to have no super military might. We're not going to have nuke bombs, ICBM missiles, hydrogen bombs. We're going to have the covenant of the Most High and the faith of Hamashiach Yahushua. That's what we're going to have in this time. Go ahead and read that.
This is the book of Zechariah chapter 14 verse 3.
Go ahead.
Then shall the Most High go forth.
Then should the outer one go forth. Read.
And fight
And
against
do what?
And fight
He's going to fight. He's going to defend us. Read.
against those nations.
Against who?
Those nations.
Against those nations. It's going to be Hamashiach Yahushua who's going to defend us. He's the one that the Most High is going to send to be the salvation of Israel. The Most High said, well, let's read that again. For in my jealousy and in the fire of my wrath have I spoken. Surely in that day there should be a great shaking in the land of Israel, so that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven and the beasts of the field and all creeping things that creep upon the earth and all men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence. He's going to send Hamashiach Yahushua to do this. He's not coming back to give lollipops. He's coming to be the salvation of Israel. Give me Psalms 110. 110 verse 4. Verse 4 to 6. Yahushua is coming to fight. He came as the lamb before. Now he's coming back as the lion, the destroyer of the Gentiles. Psalms 110 verse 4.
This is the book of Psalms chapter 110 verse 4. The Most High have sworn and will not repent.
The other one have sworn and have not repent. Read.
Thou art a priest forever,
Right.
after the order of Melchizedek.
The order of Melchizedek, which is a Mashiach Yahushua. Read.
The Most High at thy right hand shall strike through kings.
He should do what?
Shall strike through kings.
The other one at the Most High's right hand is going to strike through kings. Read.
And the day of his wrath.
In the day of his wrath. This is when the Most High is going to send him to Israel to defend us. Read.
Verse 6. He shall judge amongst the heathen.
He's going to judge the nations. Read.
He shall fill the places with the dead bodies.
Let's go back to where he's at in Ezekiel. He's the one that's going to be our strength. Yahushua says he's seen the destruction of his brothers. And he said by his right hand, he's going to be our salvation. He's going to be our strength and defender through the Spirit of the Most High. Go back to where he's at in Ezekiel.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 20.
Come.
So that the fishes of the sea and the fowls of the heaven
Right.
and the beasts of the field
Right.
and all the creeping things that creep upon the earth
Right.
and all the men that are upon the face of the earth shall shake at my presence.
They're going to shake at the presence of the Yahushua when he come on the scene. We're gonna get an in-depth understanding of what happened right here. Soon, very soon. Read.
And the mountains
Right.
shall be thrown down,
And the government shall be thrown down by his presence. Read.
and the steep places shall fall, and every wall shall fall to the ground. Verse 21. And I will call for a sword against him throughout all my mountains, said the Most High power.
Right.
Every man's sword shall be against his brother,
Right.
and I will plead
What did he
against.
say?
It's like
Verse 22.
Verse 22. And I will plead against him with pestilence.
The Most High says he's going to plead with them with pestilence. Give me Isaiah 66 and 15. When the Most High pleads, he's not begging you. Like how some of you brothers beg your women when they disrespect you. The Most High is not going to plead with no nation for us. He's not going to beg no nation for Israel's freedom. He's not going to send no petition for Israel's freedom. He's going to do it by war, by bloodshed. No revolution is won but by bloodshed. Read.
Okay, this is the book of Isaiah, chapter 66, verse 15.
Read.
For behold, the Most High will come with fire,
Right.
and with his chariots,
Right.
like a whirlwind,
With his chariots, with the angels. Read.
to render his anger with fury,
Right.
and his rebuke with flames of fire.
Right.
For by fire and by his sword,
By fire and by tribulation and judgment. Read.
by his sword will the Most High plead.
What will he do?
Will plead
When he plead, read.
with all flesh.
With all flesh. The Most High don't do it with violence. He's going to say Yahweh shall do it with violence and justice on the behalf of the Israelites.
Con.
Go back to where you was at in Ezekiel.
Con. And the slain of the Most High shall be many.
Come on, let's go back to where you was at. Verse 22.
Verse 22. This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 38, verse 22.
Mm-hmm.
And I will plead against him with pestilence
Right.
and with blood. And I will rain upon him and upon his bands and upon the many people that are with him. And overflowing rain and great hailstones, fire and brimstones.
Right.
Thus will I magnify myself and sanctify myself.
Right.
And I will be known in the eyes of many
He
nations.
said that all the nations are going to see this. So he could be known. So the Most High can finally be respected. Read.
And they shall know that I am the Most High.
They're going to know Buddha couldn't save nobody.
That's right.
Krishna couldn't save nobody. The Pope was too scared. He was touching boys. There's no power with the Catholic Church. The nations are going to know this. Read.
Verse 39. Therefore, thy son of man prophesy against God,
Right.
and say, thus says the Most High Power, behold, I am against thee, O God, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal,
Right.
and I will turn thee back and leave but the sixth part of thee.
The Most High says he's going to send some of them back. Enough. There's going to be enough Russians to go back into the land of Russia, because they're going to have to go to slavery. They're going to have to rebuild the desolate places. They're going to have to know what it means to be a Negro. And they're going to know how it feels to be called a nigger in a cotton field. But he said the sixth part of them, he's going to destroy. Read.
And will cause thee to come up from the north parts,
From the north parts, which is Russia. Read.
and will bring thee upon the mountain of Israel.
As slaves. Read.
And I will smite thy bow out of thy left hand, and I will cause thy arrow to fall out of thy right hand.
The Most High is going to dismantle their military might. All the nuclear bombs that they use against America, it's not going to work against the children of Israel. It's not going to work against Hamashiach Yahushua. Read.
Thou shalt fall upon the mountain of Israel,
Right.
thou and all thy bands, and the people that is with thee.
Read.
I will give thee unto the ravenous birds of every sort, and to be beasts of the field to be devoured.
Right.
Thou shalt fall upon the open field, for I have spoken it, said the Most High Power.
Right.
And I will send a fire on Magog, and amongst them that dwell carelessly in the isles, and they shall know that I am the Most High.
The Most High says he's going to do all of this to them. All this tribulation is going to happen. We're going to get there. How is it going to happen? Who's going to do it? By what means? Read.
So will I make my holy name known.
So should he do what?
So I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel.
The Most High is doing all of this. Because remember, give me Ecclesiastes 7:1. Israel's under the new covenant. Israel's keeping the commandments. We're not going against the Most High anymore. Isn't that what the Most High wanted? America's destroyed. Is that not what the Most High wanted? Israel's in the land again. Is that not what the Most High wanted? So why is he going to the length to bring all these nations to fight Israel? To destroy these nations? Give me Ecclesiastes 7:1.
This is the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 1.
Read.
A good name is better than precious ointment.
What does the scripture say?
A good name is better than precious ointment.
The name in the scriptures is your reputation. Then we're going to find out the Most High is a man of color. Just like Jake. Jake loved rep. The Most High loved his respect upon the earth. He loved his reputation upon the earth. We defiled the reputation of the Most High. That's why he got to get his respect back again.
That's right.
The scriptures say a good name is better than fine ointment. This is what the Most High is doing. We threw so much dirt in his name. Now we're under the new covenant. He can't punish us anymore. So what he got to do? He got to go get his respect again. He got to go judge the nations and bring them down to the floor in front of the Israelites. Give me Ezekiel 36 and 19. Ezekiel 36 and 19. Because sometimes in Israel, we think it's about us. It's not about us. Everything's about the Most High. The Most High is doing all of this to us because we defile his reputation. We disrespected the name of the Most High. Just like if you have children, your children go do something foolish outside. You're going to whoop them, but guess what? They messed up your name. Mm-hmm. Now you're a bad father. Now you're negligent. Now the police is going to knock at your door. Right? This is what the Most High is doing. Read.
Because this is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 36, verse 19.
Read.
And I scattered them amongst the heathen.
Right.
And they were dispersed through the countries.
This is the Most High referring to the judgment he laid on Israel, scattering through us throughout the four corners of the earth. Read.
According to their way and according to their doings, I judged them.
Right.
And when they enter unto the heathen.
Now when we got amongst the nations, read.
Whether they went.
Right.
They profaned.
They did what?
They profaned.
They did what?
They profaned.
They made the name of the Most High useless, vain. Read.
They profaned my holy name.
Right.
When they said to them,
right.
These are my people of the Most High.
These are the people of the Most High. That's what the nation say. This was the tribe of Judah. This is the tribe of Levi. The kings and the priests. This is Benjamin. That's what the nation is saying. Because we don't carry ourselves as Israel no more. Read.
And are gone forth out of his land.
Read.
For I have pity for my holy name.
No, the Most High said he had pity on the nation of Israel.
For I have pity of mine holy name.
He felt bad for the Levites that got the earthquake.
I have pity for mine holy name.
The Most High didn't say it had nothing to do with us.
God.
He had pity for his name.
That's right.
For his reputation. That's right. That's what he had pity for. Read.
Which the house of Israel.
Which the house of Israel, that's our part. Read.
Had profaned among the heathen.
Where we defile his name amongst the nations. Read.
Whether they went. Therefore say unto the house of Israel.
Right.
Thus said the Most High Power.
Read.
I do not this for your sakes.
He says he's not bringing us to safety because of our own sakes. We deserve everything we got. Mm-hmm. Every tribulation that came upon us, we deserve it. He says he's not doing it for us. Read.
O house of Israel.
Right.
But for mine holy name's sake.
But for his reputation's sake. Read.
Which ye have profaned amongst the heathen.
Right.
Whether ye went.
Right.
And I will sanctify my great name.
Right.
Which was profaned amongst the heathen.
Right.
Which ye have profaned in the midst of them.
Right.
And the heathen shall know that I am the Most High.
And the heathens are going to know that's the God that created the earth. This is the God who created heaven and earth. The nation's going to realize it. Yeah. But they don't see it when we're right now. Because we just want to smoke weed all day. Mm-hmm. We don't want to keep the Sabbath day. We want to commit adultery and be adulterous. We want to be baby fathers and baby mothers. We don't want to observe the law, statute, commandments of the Most High in sincerity. He said we're profaning his name. This is why he's doing this. Go back to you, Zach.
It's the book of Ezekiel 38, verse 23.
No, 39 and 8.
39 and 8.
Yeah.
It's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 39, verse 8.
Right.
Behold, it is come.
It is come. The judgment come. Read.
And it is done.
It is what?
It is done.
Right.
Set the Most High Power.
Right.
This is the day whereof I have spoken.
Now, we see that the Most High was talking about what he was going to do, but he never did it yet. So how was it done? Let's find out what happened. Give me 2 Ezra 13, verse 2. Let's find out what was happening. When you read the book of 2 Ezra 13, it gives you the most in-depth description of how we shall come in and destroy the nations. Give you the most in-depth. So why did the Most High say it is done? And we didn't see nothing happen yet. So let's find out what happened to make the Most High say it is done. 2 Ezra chapter 13, verse 2.
Okay, It's the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verse 2.
Read.
And lo, there arose a wind from the sea.
Now, this is Ezra the prophet, the mighty priest, is having a vision of Yahushua's coming. He's seeing everything we're reading about. This is what he's seeing right now. Read.
That it moved all the waves thereof.
He moved the waves thereof, not the ocean. He's talking about the sky, the firmament, the waters in the sky. Read.
And I beheld.
All right.
And lo, that the man waxed strong.
That the who?
The man waxed strong.
The man, we're going to find out who it is to solidify. This is Yahushua. Read.
With the thousand of heaven.
Right.
And when he turned in his countenance.
When he came and he just looked, what happened?
To look, all the things trembled that were seen under him.
Everybody was trembling. He's back and he's black. He looked just like one of those black Americans. Why isn't his pants below his behind? The nation's going to be astonished. Read.
And whensoever the voice went out of his mouth, all that burned that heard his voice.
Now let's stop there. Let's get Revelation 19 and 12. We're going to go back to this.
Okay.
We're jumping around, okay? Different prophecies. So we can get a good understanding of what's happening. Revelation 19 and 12.
Okay. God, it's the book of Revelation, chapter 19, verse 12. His eyes were as flame of fire.
His eyes were as flame of fire, read.
And on his head were many crowns.
Because Yahushua was judging the nations. Now he's coming to defend Israel. Read.
And he had a name written that no man knew, but he himself.
Right.
And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood.
Because he was judging the nations. This cut the sweet Jesus doctrine. He's not coming back to give everybody Jolly Ranchers and hot sausages and pickled eggs. He's coming to bring judgment on the nations. Read.
And his name is called the Word of Yahweh.
The Word of the Most High. Who's the Word of the Most High? We got, when you get a chance, read John chapter 1. Write that down in your scriptures. The Word of the Most High is a Mashiach Yahushua, who are ignorantly called Jesus Christ. This is what we're reading about. Read.
And the army which were in heaven followed him upon white horses.
The chariots followed him. Read.
Clothed in fine linen.
Right.
White and clean.
Right.
And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations.
The sharp sword right here, we read Hebrews 4 and 12, is the word of the Most High. The orders of the Most High, the commandment of the Most High. Read.
And he shall rule them with a rod of iron.
Right.
And he threaded the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of almighty power.
Right.
And he hath on his vesture and on his tie a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords.
Yes. Malach of Malachium. Adawan of Adawanium. That's his title. So we're reading about Hamashiach Yahushua right here in 2 Ezra 13. Let's go back. There's more scriptures. You can also write down Isaiah 63, verse 1, I believe to 8. Write that down in your notebooks as well. There's a lot of scriptures, but process the time. Back to you that in the 2 Ezra 13. 13 and 9.
Okay. 10 or 9? Okay.
No, so like you go back to you 36.
6. Come. This is the book of 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 6.
Go up to 5, so like
Go up to 5. Come. And after this I beheld, and lo, there was gathered together a multitude of men out of number from the four winds of the heaven to subdue the man that came out of the sea.
Right.
But I beheld, and lo, he had graved himself a great mountain and flew up upon it. But I would have seen the region or place whereout the hill was graven, and I could not. And after this I beheld, and lo, all they which were gathered together to subdue him were sore afraid, and yet durst fight.
Because the Most High is forcing them to fight. He's forcing them to come into the valley of Jehoshaphat. He's forcing them to come against Israel. Because they say he flew on a mountain in government. The government he graved, which is Israel. Read.
And lo, as he saw the violence of the multitude that came.
Now, Yahushua is looking at all their violence, all their murderous intent against them. Read.
He not lift up his hand,
Right.
nor held sword.
Now, Yahushua was amongst the Israelites. He didn't lift up his hands. He didn't have no sword. So when you see brothers having what a six-pack on Instagram, with his chest all oily, with an Edomite head and a sword, that's not according to the scriptures. That's not biblical. Read.
Nor any instrument of war.
He didn't have no instrument of war. Read.
But only I saw that he sent out of his mouth.
Out of his what?
Out of his mouth.
Out of his who?
Out of his mouth.
Out of his mouth. Read.
As it had been a blast of fire.
A what?
A blast of fire.
Right.
And out of his lips
right.
a flaming breath.
Now remember what the scriptures say. A flaming breath. A fire. Read. And
out of his tongue he cast out sparks and tempests.
Sparks and tempests. This sounds familiar to a scripture, a couple scriptures. Give me Jeremiah 23 and 29. Because this fire, this tempest is talking about, is not literal fire. Yahweh not going to be breathing fire out of his mouth. It's him giving the Israelites order to go attack. Because we went through a couple scriptures. When is the time for Israel to be the battle axe and weapons of war? When is it time for us to go fight the nations? Yahweh is giving the Israelites permission to go attack now. He's telling them to go subdue the nations now. Go ahead and read that.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 23, verse 29.
Read.
Is not my word like as a fire?
He's giving them the orders of the Most High. The word of the Most High is fire. Read.
Set the Most High,
right?
And like a hammer
right?
that breaketh the rock in pieces.
That breaketh the rocks in pieces. Give me Obadiah 1:18. Because that fire will be the nation of Israel. The house of Judah and the house of Israel. That's going to join together and come against the nations. The only thing Yahweh is going to do is give the order.
It's the book.
Now it's time to attack. Radad, go subdue. Read.
It's the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 18.
Read.
And the house of Jacob shall be...
The house of who?
The house of Jacob.
The house of Jacob, read.
Shall be a fire.
They're going to be a fire. Just like it came out of Yahweh's mouth. That fire, that tempest, read.
In the house of Joseph.
In the house of who?
Joseph.
The 10 tribes, read.
A flame.
They're going to be a flame. Read.
In the house of Esau.
The house of who?
The house of Esau.
The king of Meshach is Esau during this time.
For a stubble.
Moscow is Esau. They're going to be for stubble. Here's him giving us the order to go attack. Give me Jeremiah, chapter 51 and 20. Jeremiah 51 and 20. Because the Most High will use Israel to subdue the nations. He's going to use Israel to go break in peace the nations, dash them down. Read it once you got it.
It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 51, verse 20. Mm-hmm. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war.
The Most High said we're going to be his battle axe and weapon of war. This is why Yahweh didn't have no instruments of war. Read.
For with thee will I break in pieces of the nations.
He said that with thee shall we break in pieces the nations. Yes, Yahweh got his prophecies he's going to do. Yes, he's going to fight. But what's going to happen in the valley of Jehoshaphat? He's giving Israelites the order to go attack. They got to go subdue the nations. They got to know that the Most High is with us. All the rest superpowers during this time are going to come against us. What better yet to let them know that the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob exists by letting the underdogs go and subdue them. Read.
And with thee will I destroy kingdoms.
Right.
And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider.
The Most High said we're going to break in pieces the horse and riders. We're going to destroy the nations. But when we do, we're not going to do it like how we are now. Our body's going to be changed. Scriptures say that the corruptible can't inherit the incorruptible can't. So like the corruptible can't inherit the kingdom. We got to be changed to the incorruptible. Our bodies and vessels got to be changed. The Most High don't give us what the scriptures call spiritual power. The same spiritual power Elijah had when he stopped the rain for 3 years. Moses had, Aaron had, the priests had in ancient times. We're going to have the spiritual power at a high level. Give me Zechariah 12 and 8. Give me Zechariah 12 and 8.
Okay. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 12, verse 8.
Read.
And that day shall
read.
shall the Most High defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
In that day shall the idle one defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem. This is all ties back into Ezekiel 38. Everybody's seeing different parts of the vision. Read.
And he that is feeble amongst them,
The Most High said the weak amongst us. Read.
at that day shall
Read.
shall be as David.
Shall be as who?
Shall be as David.
The Most High said a brother who's 5'3", who never fought a day of his life. It's going to be like King David in that day. David was known for killing 10,000s. When brothers fight, when they mad, it seems like it's like two women slapboxing. It's like two penguins bumping into each other. But the Most High said in that day, their feeble is going to be like King David. Read.
And the house of David
And the strong, the 144, the elect, read.
shall be as
Powers.
powers.
They're going to be like powers. They're going to be like the Most High. They're going to be like the angels. You got the feeble killing 10,000. You got the strong amongst the people killing 50,000. This is where they get the concept of Dragon Ball Z, X-Men. They get it all from the scriptures. It's Israel who's going to get their spiritual power and beat down the nations. Give me Micah 4:13 before we go back. Micah 4:13 before we go back.
It's the book of Micah, chapter 4, verse 13.
Read.
Arise and thresh.
What did the Most High say?
Arise and thresh.
Because now is going to be the time for us to thresh. Now is the time for us to attack. Read.
O daughter of Zion.
O daughter of Zion. Read.
For I will make thine horn iron.
He says he's going to make our horn iron. A horn for a beast is his strength. He's going to make our strength iron in that time. Read.
And I will make thy hoofs brass.
He's going to make our foot like brass. Our hands like brass. Read.
And thou shalt beat in pieces.
We're going to do what?
Shall beat in pieces.
The Most High is condoning violences.
Shall beat in pieces many people.
He said we're going to give the beat down to these nations. We're going to beat in pieces many people. Read.
And I will consecrate their gang.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there. But we're going to beat in pieces many nations.
Yeah.
This is what Yahushua was given the order in 2nd Ezra. This is what the Most High says, it is done. All these events happen. But when you go to Ezekiel, you don't see none of these things written down. That's why the scriptures say line upon line, here a little, there a little. Now you got a big picture of what was being done in Ezekiel 38. Ezekiel 39. Let's go back to Ezekiel 39. Where we left off at.
Ezekiel 39,
Verse 8.
Verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the book of Ezekiel, chapter 39, verse 8.
Mm-hmm.
Behold, it is come,
Right.
and it is done,
Right?
said the Most High Power.
Moses said, now it's done. Now I got a name on the earth. Now the nations know I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now they know I sit on the throne. Now they know that this is my people. Now they know that Israel is not going to captivity no more. Now they know. Now it's done. Read.
This is the day whereof I have spoken.
Right?
And they that dwell in the city of Israel
Right?
shall go forth.
What did he say?
Shall go forth.
He said after this fight is done, after the battle of Armageddon is finished, the valley of Jehoshaphat is finished, the nations are beat down to pieces. Israel got the power of David and the angels. Read.
And shall set on fire and burn the weapons.
We're gonna go out and burn their weapons, their guns, their tanks, their helicopters, their bullets. We're gonna burn it up. Read.
Both the shields,
Right?
and the bucklers.
Both the shields and the bucklers. Read.
The bows,
Right?
and the arrows.
Right?
And the staves,
Right?
and the spears. And they shall burn them with fire 7 years.
There's gonna be that much weapons that's gonna be left in the valley. 7 years worth of weapons, and we're gonna have to go burn and bury.
That's crazy.
Read.
So that they shall take no wood out of the
There's
field.
gonna be so much we're not gonna need wood to go burn in the field. All the wood is right there in the battlefield. Read.
Not to cut down any out of the forest.
Right?
For they shall burn the weapons with fire.
Right?
And they shall spoil
We're gonna
those.
do what?
They shall spoil
The
those
Moses said we're gonna spoil them. Read.
that spoil them.
We're gonna rob them. We're gonna spoil them. In war, the winner takes everything. We taking everything in God and the 10% during this time. Read.
And rob those that rob them.
And do what?
Rob those that rob them.
Moses said we're gonna rob them. that robbed us. Read.
Said the Most High power,
Right.
and it shall come to pass in that day
Read.
that I will give unto God a place thereof grave in Israel.
What did he say?
I will go unto God a place there of graves in Israel.
He said he's going to give the children of God and the inhabitants of this, the remnants of this military, he's going to give them a burying site in Israel. That's how much bodies are going to drop dead in this war. In this one side of the war. But in reality, the Most High said that we got to endure to the end. He's not going to make the fight in our favor too. It's still got to be a struggle in the fight.
Right.
The Most High is a God of war. Every one of us they kill, we're still going to kill like 5,000 of them. But there's going to be some type of resistance. Read.
The valley of the passengers of the east of the sea,
Right.
and it shall stop the nose of the passengers, and they shall there bury God and all his multitude.
Right.
And they shall call it the valley of Hammon Gog.
The Most High said we're going to call that area where we bury them Hammon Gog. Read.
And 7 months shall the house of Israel be burying of them, that they may cleanse the land.
Because according to the law, we can't leave a dead body out to the enemy. But there's going to be so much bodies, it's going to take us 7 months just to bury all of them. And it's most likely it's millions of Israelite men. Probably tens of millions, 20 millions of men. It's going to take us 7 months to bury these people. Read.
Yea, all the people of the land shall bury them.
Right.
And it shall be to them a renown the day that I shall be glorified.
It might be another Memorial Day or another High Holy Day. After every great event, that's when we have a High Holy Day.
That's right.
This might be the High Holy Day where we glorify beating in pieces the nations. Where the Most High finally got respect and honor upon the earth. But this is just speculation. Read.
That I shall be glorified, said the Most High power. And this shall sever our man of continual employment, passing through the land to bury with the passengers those that remain upon the face of the earth,
right,
to cleanse it.
Right.
After the end of 7 months shall they search.
Right.
And the passenger that passed through the land.
He said after the 7 months, when they're almost done burying the bodies, they're gonna go out and make sure everything is cleaned up, everything is done correctly. Read.
Verse 17. And thou, son of man, thus said the Most High power, speak unto every feather fowl.
Wait, hold on. Go back to 15.
15, Salakia. And the passenger that passed through the land,
right,
when any seeth a man bones,
if any man sees the remains of a man after this battle, read.
Then shall he set up a sign. Then shall he set up a sign by it, till the buriers have buried it in the valley of Hammon Gog. And also the name of the city shall be Hammonah.
It's gonna be so bad. We're gonna have a day dedicated to this. There's gonna be a burying site for these people. There's gonna be a new city. That's how extreme this battle's gonna be. Read.
Thus shall they cleanse the land.
Right.
And thou, son of man, thus said the Most High power, speak unto every feather fowl, and to every beast of the field.
He said, do what?
Speak unto every feather fowl.
Now, he said, son of man, speak thou to every feathered fowl, read.
And to every beast of the field,
right,
assemble yourselves, and come, gather yourself on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice for you.
Right.
Even a great sacrifice upon the mountain of Israel, that ye may eat flesh and drink.
This son of man, this man, is telling the birds and the birds and the fowl beasts, come and devour their flesh. Come and devour these bodies as in a valley. Read.
That ye may eat flesh and drink blood.
Right.
Ye shall eat the flesh of the mighty,
right,
and drink the blood of the princes of the earth, of the rams, of lambs, and of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatlings of Bashan. And ye shall eat fat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken, of my sacrifice which I have sacrificed for you.
Let's find out who's this proclaiming this. Revelation 19, 17 to 18. Let's find out. Because when the Christian church, they give the wrong character of Mashiach Yahushua. He's a man of war too, just like his father. Revelation 19, verse 17 to 18.
So this is the book of Revelation, verse 19, verse 17. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven,
this is Mashiach Yahushua, read.
Come and gather yourself together unto the supper of the great power.
This is the same thing that's being said right here in Ezekiel. Same event. Read.
That ye may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast.
That's it. Go back to use that. Verse 18.
Verse 18. Ye shall eat the flesh of the mighty. Ezekiel chapter 39, verse 18. Ye shall eat the flesh of mighty, and drink the blood of the prince of the earth, of the rams, of lambs, and of goats, of bullocks, all of them fatlings of Bashan. And ye shall eat fat till ye be full, and drink blood till ye be drunken of my sacrifice which I have sacrificed for you. Thus ye shall be filled at my table with horses and chariot, with mighty men, and with all men of war, said the Most High Power. And I will set my glory amongst the heathen, and all of the heathen shall see my judgment that I have executed, and my hands that I have laid upon them. So that the house of Israel shall know that I am the Most High, their power. From what? From that day.
From that day, read.
And forward.
The Most High says from that day and forward. From this time right here, we gonna know for 144,000% that the Most High is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. There's no God like him.
That's right.
There's no God that will ever be like the Most High power.
That's right.
At that day, we're gonna stop defiling the name of the Most High. At that day, all nations upon the earth are gonna worship and understand that this is not a God to play with.
Okay.
Continue reading.
Verse 23. And the heathen shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity.
And the heathen shall know. They're going to realize it. Every nation is going to realize this. Read.
Went into captivity for iniquity.
For their what?
For the iniquity.
For their iniquity, read.
Because they trespass against me. Therefore hid I my face from them, and gave them into the hands of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword.
So they're going to realize that we fell by the sword because of our disobedience to the Heavenly Father.
God.
All nations are going to realize it. They never had strength.
That's right.
They never had, their military might was never really anything to play with in the first place.
That's right.
They could have never compared to Israel. Deuteronomy 32, verse 27 to 29 before we come back.
Deuteronomy 32. It's like verse 32, 29.
32, verse 27.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32, verse 27. Were it not that I feared the wrath of the enemy, lest the adversary should behave themselves strangely.
The Most High said that the adversary behaved themselves strangely. Because the nations think it was by their strength they put us in captivity. Read.
Unless they should say, our hand is high.
That's what they're going to say. That's what they've been saying. Our hands is high. Read.
And the Most High had not done this.
The Most High didn't do this. Read.
For they are a nation void of counsel.
Because these nations are void of counsels. Read.
Neither is there any understanding in them.
Right.
Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end.
That they would consider that what? The Most High, after we repent and come back, He's going to judge them. He's going to put them under our feet. They're going to be our servants and handmaids. Let's go back to where we was at.
That's crazy.
We got a couple more verses. That's it.
Verse 24. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgression have I done unto them and hid my face from them. Therefore, thus said the Most High Power, now will I bring against the captivity of Jacob and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel.
Most High said He's going to have mercy upon us now. Now all the battles done, the fighting is done. Now it's time for the slaves. It's time for handmaids. It's time for the riches of the Gentiles. It's time for us to boast in the wealth of the nations. Read.
And will be jealous. And will be jealous for my holy name. After that they have borne their shame.
Because we're burning our shame right now. Read.
And all the trespasses whereby they have trespasses against me, when they dwell safely in their land, and none make them afraid. When I have brought them again from the people, and gathered them out of their enemy, out of their enemy's land, and am sacrificing them in the sight of many nations. Then shall they know that I am the Most High, their power, which caused them to be led into captivity amongst the heathen. But I have gathered them unto their own land.
The Most High said they're going to know that He's the one that's gathering us together. He's the one that did it. He's bringing salvation. Read.
And have left none of them any more there. Neither will I hide my face. Neither will I hide my face any more from them.
The Most High said neither is He going to hide His face no more. No more captivities. Now it's time to relax. Now it's time to know what it feels like to get angry when you don't wake up at 7 a.m. to go to the beach and relax. Nowadays we get mad because we wake up late to work. We're gonna be mad when we're late to go to the beach with the Akim, to enjoy time with the family at the beach. We're gonna have a new mindset. Read.
For I have poured out my spirits upon the house of Israel, said the Most High power.
Now give me Zephaniah chapter 13, verse 13 to 20. That'll be the last verses right here.
Zephaniah.
Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 13.
13, got it. It's the book of Zephaniah, chapter 3, verse 13. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth.
Because during this time, we're going to be moving in this spirit. We're finally doing everything that the Most High want. The Most High finally defending us. He got His name upon the earth. Read.
For they shall feed and lie down, and none shall make them afraid.
No nation's ever going to come up against us after seeing what the Most High did in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. After seeing what slaves just did to Russia, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, and the rest of these nations. Read.
Verse 14. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all the heart, O daughter of Jerusalem.
Now it's going to be the time to rejoice. Now it's time we have Yahushua with us. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob was in the kingdom. We know how it feels like to have real gold on us. Have stacks getting dropped in our direct deposit. We have all the shekels. Your brother probably forgot his wallet at home. You can say, brother, hold 2 million shekels. Don't worry about it. It's on me.
It's so
that's gonna be the day. You can let me go that 2 million shekels. I'll take it. I won't say nothing. Read.
The Most High have taken away thy judgments. He have cast out thy enemy. The King of Israel, even the Most High, is in the midst of thee.
The King of Israel is Hamashiach Yahushua. He's going to be in the midst of us now. He's going to sit on the throne, give us the order, instruction that we need to run this kingdom. The Most High Spirit is going to be with us. Read.
Thou shalt not see evil anymore.
We're not going to know what it's like for an Israelite to murder another Israelite, to steal from another Israelite, to lie to another Israelite. Rape is not going to be in the kingdom. Breaking the Sabbath is not going to happen. Read.
And that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear thou not, and to Zion, let not thy hands be slack. The Most High thy power in the midst of thee is mighty. He will save, he will rejoice over thee with joy. He will rest his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful for the solemn assembly, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee.
Moses says he's going to undo all our oppressors. Read.
And I will save her that halted, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise.
He's going to do what?
I will get them praise.
Most of the he's going to get us praise. No nation will ever look down on us again. Now in Israelites, it's going to be where it's at. Nowadays, the nations want to wear suits. They want to shave off their face. They want to be bald. They want to get green eyes, blonde hair. In the kingdom of heaven, everybody's going to want braids and afros. Everybody's going to want to put golds in their mouth. Everybody's going to want to wear garments and fringes. Everybody's going to want to wear their beards. They're going to compete on who got the longest beard in the kingdom of heaven. That's going to be the vibration that's going to be upon earth now. Read.
I will get them praise and fame.
You don't get us fame. Read.
Fame in every land.
In what?
In every
in
land.
Every nation don't know what happened. Read.
Where they have been put to shame.
Right.
At that time will I bring you again, even in the time that I gather you.
Right.
For I will make you a name and a praise among all the people of the earth, which I turn back your captivity before your eyes, said the Most High.
So all this is going to happen when the Most High uses us to defeat the nations. When he finally declares his name upon the earth. This is the vision of Ezekiel. This is the prophecy of Gog and Magog coming against Israel. This is the prophecy of Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39. For the brothers in line, study, review this video, go over the precepts. There's actually historical parts that go with it. And we try our best to keep the class straight to the point. It was our pleasure to be, to bring this word out to you efficiently through the Spirit of the Most High. Pray you like, share, and subscribe to this video. Shalom, Israel.